Hello and welcome to In the Lab. It's another question and answer session with me, Mr. Walker, and with our guest host.
Hello, and my name is Gavyn. I'm in 8th shooter.
Fantastic stuff. So we are going to go straight on with our questions without further ado. So Gavyn, what's our first question for today?
Right. If there is water in the earth, how come it doesn't come out into space? By Sophie Doyle.
Oh yes, good question. So there's water in the earth, that is absolutely true. Why doesn't it come out into space? Well, it kind of does. You see, we have got rivers and streams and oceans, and all the time water is going up into the atmosphere. Now it's not exactly space, but it's part of the water cycle. So we do have water that leaves the surface. Some of this water does initially come from underground rivers and stores of water. So in a sense, it is coming out from under the earth and it's heading towards space, but the atmosphere stops it getting any further. It condenses and it comes down as precipitation or rain, and it's back in the rivers and the cycle continues. But there's another answer to the question, how come the water just doesn't float off into space? And the answer is gravity. Imagine now if I had a beaker of water and I poured it out, what direction is it going to go? Is it going to go into the space or is it going to go down to Earth? Of course you know the answer, it's going to go down. Gravity brings everything towards the centre of the Earth. So the water that's already down there is being held together, it's being pulled towards the centre because that's what gravity does. It pulls smaller things to things that are larger. So there you go. I think that answers the question. Okay, Gavyn, question number 2.
Okay. Why is Pluto small?
Yeah.
And why does Pluto not exist anymore?
2 questions. Why is it small and why doesn't it exist? Have you got any answer to those?
I don't think Pluto exists anymore. I think it exists.
Yeah, Pluto does exist. You're absolutely right. Why is it so small?
I don't know.
Well, let's look into that. Well, firstly, you are quite right, Gavyn. Pluto does still exist, but it's not a planet anymore. In other words, we don't call it a planet. Here's a picture of Pluto now for you to look at what it looks like. We haven't got the best pictures because it's incredibly far away, but Pluto was declassified as a planet in 2006 to a dwarf planet. In other words, a very tiny planet. It's not quite large enough on its own to be called a planet because we think it might have been an asteroid that was pulled into the orbit of the sun, but it's not big enough to be a planet. It's 715 miles across, or rather that's just its radius. That means we double it for the diameter, 1,430 miles. Now Earth is 8,000 miles across, so you've got to be quite a lot bigger than Pluto to be a planet. So it does exist, but why is it so small? Maybe because it was an asteroid. Well, there we go. Question number 3. What is it, Gavyn?
Why do parts of space smell like strawberry?
Why do parts of space smell like strawberries? And we had 2 questions in that were the same. So, why does it? Well, it's very difficult to actually prove that it does, because if we went out into space, our heads would implode before we could smell space. So, don't try that. If you get a chance to go into space, do not take off your helmet and go, because your head's just going to go, so don't do that. Why do they think it smells like strawberries? Because we've got incredible telescopes that can actually give us an impression of the different chemicals that are out there in space. And they've decided, through using these very complicated telescopes, they don't work quite like our light telescopes, they've got extra features to them, and they've decided that the chemicals are the same as what you get in strawberries. So they actually think that it smells like rum and it tastes like strawberries based on the chemical composition of certain parts of space. Very complicated reasons as to why and how they've discovered that. Maybe one day we'll know if that is the case, but we can't prove it for certain right now. So there you go. That's answered our questions, but it's not the end. It's time for the killer question. Okay, it's time for the killer question. So, Gavyn, the question is this, and I want you to give me your best answer. People at home can have a go as well. How many Earths can fit in the sun. We were talking about the size of things earlier, planet Earth and planet Pluto, dwarf planet Pluto. But now what do you think is the answer? How many Earths fit in the sun? What do you reckon?
I think it's 200.
200. I can tell you it's more than that. Do you want to make a higher guess?
700.
It's higher than 700. Have one more guess.
10,000.
10,000. It's actually 1.3 million. There are 1.3 million Earths in the sun if we were to duplicate the Earth and squash them all into the sun. That's how big the sun is compared to us. Massive, isn't it? Well, there we go. That is our question and answer session for In the Lab for today. Thank you, Gavyn, and thank you to Isaac who filmed. Bye for now.
Hey guys, your daily reminder to like and subscribe to In the Lab.
Like and subscribe to In the Lab.
Like and subscribe.